Hello there. Now, wouldn't that be very apt? To have Ricky Gervais announcing the result of the contest between the main actors in the Labour Party race to replace Jeremy Corbyn as their party leader. Firstly, as ever, please kick that YouTube algorithm up the jacksie by giving this video a big, fat like. Now, all that actors want, just like most politicians, is non-stop gushing praise while they stand tearfully in front of a crowd of acolytes spouting nonsense, like saying that what they did was not for themselves but for everyone else, and that they owe their career to family, friends and colleagues, blah blah blah. So it probably came as an unpleasant shock for the Golden Globes attendees to find Ricky Gervais staring down at them from the podium for the 5th year running, pouring his un-PC form of humour down upon them. But how dare he take the name of the goddess of climate change herself, Greta Thunberg, in vain? How dare he? But overall, I would categorise Ricky Gervais's monologue as a series of accurately aimed insults using the delivery of a comedian. And while some of his witticisms found favour with a portion of the audience, a large proportion of them looked a little uncomfortable, if not shocked, as he pointed out the hypocrisy and ignorant political posturing within showbiz. The laughs looked more forced and nervous than appreciative. Remember, as I just said, those lovies were all there to hear how wonderful and important they and their industry are to the world. They wanted to hear that the whole planet was hanging on their every utterance, however absurd. They were not there to be told that they were hypocritically propping up a very dark and dodgy set of people and organisations. And we've all seen it before, haven't we? Film and rock stars who think just because they can act or sing, then they must know the origins of the universe and so have the God-given right to lecture us all, while they do exactly the opposite, of course. And politicians who think they know better than the rest of us are worse, and that encapsulates the Labour Party leadership hopefuls, as none of them seem to be quite catching on to the concept of doing what the majority of voters want. So Ricky Gervais would be the perfect chap to act as compere for the announcement of the new Labour Party leader, wouldn't he? And he could brutally cut and paste one line he used in the Globes straight across. "You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world." And his line on the film Cats, where he said it was the worst thing to happen to cats since dogs, could easily be transposed into something like, "The new Labour leader, the worst thing to happen to the Labour Party since Margaret Thatcher and Boris Johnson." Oh, and how about that line on all those actors working for companies that run sweatshops in China like Apple, Amazon and Disney? "If ISIS started a streaming service," Ricky said, "you'd call your agent." So as the Labour Party was looking to cull its very own staff members in the run-up to Christmas and has made recent eyebrow-raising pronouncements on events in the Middle East, I'm sure a fertile comedic mind like that of Mr. Gervais could easily tweak that one for Labour Party leadership relevance. Then Ricky could give a summary of all the candidates, starting with Keir Starmer, nominated for his role in Working Class Nero, where he plays an alleged millionaire barrister and MP in a shadow cabinet that is supposed to appeal to the poor, downtrodden working classes, while simultaneously completely disregarding their democratic will and ignoring what they say. Then being surprised with the election result, but blaming it on the party not taking a firmer stance against what their core voters actually wanted. Then there's Jess Phillips, nominated for her magnificent role in You Can Relate to Me, where she plays a woman who grew up in a privileged background trying to become a hero of the working classes, someone who is trying to win over the ordinary masses, but is not quite able to connect with their values. In one memorable scene, Phillips, who plays the part remarkably well, shows us all how easily a politician can shift their position and expect voters to swallow it when within 24 hours of her leadership election bid launch, she U-turns on her own previously stated position regarding the single greatest democratic decision made in the UK. And of course the left-wing favourite, Rebecca Long-Bailey, who has been nominated for her convincing role in Mrs. Continuity, where she stars as a politician and, like the role fellow nominee Keir Starmer played, her character has chosen law as a career path. The character Long-Bailey plays became an MP by being put forward in a sexist, women-only shortlist as prospective parliamentary candidate, and then goes on to fight for equality. Long-Bailey's character is then mentored and her political thought shaped by an elderly, bearded gentleman ninja who follows an extremist hard-left doctrine and likes to grow cucumbers and make jam. And of course Emily Thornberry, a nominee of substance, who portrays yet another barrister turned MP. There does appear to be a lot of those about, doesn't there? Thornberry's character in the blockbuster Let Them Eat Cake has a phobia of working class men in white vans brandishing St George flags. In her role, Thornberry plays the comical figure of a shadow defence secretary who doesn't know what DEFCON 1 means. Thornberry's brilliant comic performance also included a sketch where she responded by branding an interviewer sexist and charged him with subjecting her to pub quizzing when she couldn't provide the answers to questions she should have known when she played the part of Shadow Foreign Secretary. And don't forget that stunning performance by the next nominee, Clive Lewis, when he took the starring role in Mr. Nobody. A stunning performance in that it left the rest of us stunned as to who is he and why was he bothering. Sadly, nominee Lisa Nandy, who has long shown much promise in her role as a more grounded MP, is unlikely to gain an award in this year's Labour Golden Globes, despite a recent epic performance where she quite convincingly played the lead in Someone of Principle. And I have nothing more to add to that. Now there are quite a few technical requirements that nominees have to fulfil prior to winning the Labour Party Golden Globe of the Year. This is to prove that they have the correct political credentials to be allowed to win the award. Here are some of the more important ones. The first of these is that you have to be a millionaire, or at least able to demonstrate that you are very capable of milking the expenses system fast enough to get there, in short order. The next is that you must have a pathological hatred for the US, unless its own president is a US-hating Democrat, then fill your boots. Your love for the EU must surpass all. Nuff said. You must be adept at lecturing from an ivory tower whilst ignoring all feedback from the seething masses below. The words progressive and diverse must feature at least twice in every single scene of your performances, and I'm sure the nominees all score highly here. Finally, there is a special award for Lifetime Labour Party Achievers, and this year it looks to be handed jointly to Jeremy Corbyn, John McDonnell and Diane Abbott, who will always be remembered for their parts in the classic film Total Hypocrisy. Diane Abbott self-titles the three actors as the dynamic duo, with the trio playing the parts of MPs who always try to claim the moral high ground by pretending to stand up against the military intervention in Iraq, being forced on the country by their devious Prime Minister, a role ably played by the ever-villainous Tony Blair, who deserves a separate distinction all of his very own for this. In the film, the three hapless MPs find themselves unable to make the ultimate sacrifice by resigning their seats to cause the political earthquake that might have stood a chance of stopping that conflict. But in a masterstroke of diversion, they are instead able to hang on and then claw their way up the greasy pole to take the top 3 jobs in the shadow cabinet. There are also nominations for the Best Former Director, and these are Peter Mandelson, Alistair Campbell and Vladimir Lenin. While the favourite nominee for Best Costume is Diane Abbott. Anyway, now to announce the grand winner, the person you have chosen as Labour Golden Globe winner and who automatically takes the lead role in the next production of Islington Labour, The Keystone Cops Revisited. And the winner is... well, I'm afraid you'll have to wait for a couple of months for that one. But if you want to hear more from me in the meantime, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell or you won't get notifications. Anyway, what do you think? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.